This is Alan Wake's American Nightmare. We're on Xbox Series X taking a look at this interesting continuation of the Alan Wake series. So we're doing the arcade mode as not to really, I guess, spoil any of the story and to more easily jump in and show off some of the action. So this kind of takes our heroic character and then throws them into a new, unique setting with an interesting, bit of a smaller story, but definitely one worth checking out if you are an Alan Wake fan. I don't know if people are well aware of this particular title, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a neat little, mix up for the series. I think it did some interesting things with the style of the character and that. And I think it's kind of a lot of fun to kind of experience. And then yeah, you've got this arcade mode where you're able to do more intense, fast-paced action. So we should probably talk about the details here. What we're getting is like slightly less than 720p. I think it's like just slightly below 600p or something around that kind of resolution line. 30 FPS with auto HDR support, which obviously for a game that's a bit kind of light driven, I think it adds a nice little a little bit of a welcome look to the game. That's for sure. Oh jeez. Kind of crazy these guys going on here, but yeah, it's all about fighting for the light and also dealing with some rather intense enemies, that's for sure. Kind of worried here. Ugh. But yeah, you get some neat scenes, and again, it's a very different sort of setup, I guess you could say, just in terms of like, the environment and what you're doing. Challenge-wise in this one, you get a very different, very different place to visit, especially in terms of like setting and visuals and just the themes of this one. They're a lot more. Lot different. That's the big thing. It's a varied selection, and I was actually really disappointed that we haven't necessarily seen a perfect continuation to the Alan Wake series, because they could have done even more little smaller ones like this. Would have been totally cool for me. I would have loved to have more small adventures with this character and this interesting world that they've set up here. It's just disappointing, really, that we haven't been able to kind of experience that, right? Whoa, that's kind of was a big savior thing right there with the flare, am I right? This guy's sneaking up from out of nowhere, causing problems. But that's the fun part of Alan Wake. If you're not familiar with the series, it's all about, kind of light and damaging and, fighting the darkness in a number of ways. I think it kind of just makes a very dynamic situation, because there's not a lot of things that have necessarily this interesting of a theme to them, and I think that kind of makes it a lot of fun. Again, if you have not played the regular Alan Wake, I highly suggest doing so, because it is stellar. Alright, so we are showing off a bit of the story here, so we can talk about the game further. But yeah, like I was saying, the core Alan Wake experience is definitely worth trying out if you've never seen it. I really do suggest playing that game, because it is just simply wonderful. It's like a bit of a psychological thriller. It's so neat. And see this character in this other setting is also a lot of fun, because it's got like a, I don't know how you to describe it, a bit of an Americana kind of feel to it in terms of the, the setting and the vibe, but it's very much on brand, I think, with the Alan Wake series. Just again, sort of doing something a little bit different with the concept, which is interesting. Like, it's definitely similar, but at the same time a little bit different. And I quite liked this particular setup. Like, this place is really, really interesting. There's a whole kind of like, I don't know, like a motel, like a strip kind of area, strip mall area. I don't know what you would really perfectly call it, but you're sort of exploring it, and it feels a little bit more almost open than the core Alan Wake game, because this is a linear series, but this one does take a little bit more leniency with some of the setups, and of course evolving a little bit of the enemies a little bit more too, which is kind of nice. 9mm, cool. Where else are we dealing with these things? Definitely feels really smooth though, which is nice on the platform. And it's still like a pretty good looking game. At least I think so. I mean, obviously it's been a number of years, but just like kind of the sense of scale and the fog, like it's got such a cool vibe to it. And I think that's really both the Alan Wake titles. Just like such a cool location, such a weird, messed up world that you're dealing with. And I do genuinely hope, no matter where it is, that we get to see, you know, this character come back and do something wonderful. Because I think they've really created such a dynamic world. And I mean, I'd like to talk more about this one specifically, but when you're kind of going through these games where the narrative is so important, you know, talking about things kind of spoils stuff. At least I feel so. And it's also not like the most large game to talk about. You know, there's a few different sort of setup acts to it and that, but you know, it's definitely not on the scale that the first Alan Wake is, that's for sure, but it still has a good sense of, you know, adventure to it and trying to figure things out and exploring and yeah. Oh, and then the manuscript pages, and you could unlock stuff, which is kind of fun. Yeah, let's get that submachine gun in here. That's what I'm talking about. Oh yeah. Yeah, you gotta get the manuscript pages. And then there's characters kind of dealing with this messed up world too. I don't know if we want to specifically talk to her. You know what I mean, because I don't want to trigger something, but I feel like that's the only thing I can really do in this area unless I'm like out exploring for no reason, and it might be nice to have a little bit of a story context kind of shown here, I suppose, just to give you an idea of things. The icebox. Classic design for the icebox. Okay, let's see what Emma has to say.
Wow, it is you.
Just walked up
I
there with
guess
that
all of it
Uzi.
really happened.
You remember me?
Kind of. I felt weird all day, like I could almost remember a dream I had, and then just before sunset, I remembered the page.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go get those things again.
Not all of them. I went out and got them. Well, most of them. I felt stupid at first, but then it was getting dark, and those things started showing up, and one of them made off with the battery. It ran into the railroad tunnel. There was no way I was gonna follow him in there. Sorry.
It's good you didn't. You should be careful. I mean, really careful.
Yeah, I kinda remember something. Something bad happened to me, didn't it?
Forget it. It doesn't have to happen again, okay? Just do what I say.
Yeah, okay. God, this is too weird. Am I going crazy here? Just go get that battery.
This
Try
is
to
a
stay
time
calm.
loop.
You're perfectly sane. We're caught in a time loop. That's why this is happening again.
I believe you. God, I feel like I might just lose it any second now. How come you're not freaking out over this?
Because on my personal weird shit-o-meter, this just doesn't rate.
Look, I know something happened to me before...
You're gonna be okay. If you just keep cool, okay? Thanks for getting this stuff for me. It's a big help.
I hope so. Are you gonna make everything blow up at the oil field again?
I have to.
Well, whatever the hell else you might be, at least you're not boring.
So that was a good little bit of the story and stuff, so you can get a context of that. A flare. These are helpful. And yes, always the TV angle being thrown into it as well. They love to experiment, Remedy, and that's why I like this studio so much. The concepts and things they set up in this series are always just so entertaining and so interesting to experience. What do we have here? Missing part of the manuscript. I never did get all of them, did I? Shame on me, I suppose. Shame on me. Especially as we go into the mine. Got a bad feeling about the mine, guys. That's for sure.
This should be perfectly safe.
Yeah, it can feel pretty spooky and atmospheric, I gotta say.
Now I just need her to charge this up.
Anyways, that's Alan Wake's American Nightmare. Really worth checking out if you're a fan of the series. And definitely play the first one if you never have, because it's so good.